Hey family, I'm back with a different message and a different perspective. I have no idea what's gonna come out of my mouth, but I feel this is definitely gonna be interesting. So, we all are, from one perspective, in different timelines. Each one of us is in a different timeline. From another perspective, we are all in the same timeline because we are all here having the same experience. So, as always, I love sharing these disclaimers. I am not a teacher. I am not teaching anything. I am always simply sharing perspectives. Always. So, we all have different beliefs and different views about what is happening in the world and what is the truth about life and human life and spirituality and all of these things. We all have different perspectives. And it's so funny. It's so funny. I don't even know like where to start. But it's just everyone is having their own unique experience. And all of us are sharing from the point we are perceiving. So everyone that is sharing anything anywhere is always sharing from their point of perspective, from their point of perception. From one perspective, we can say that everyone is wrong and no one knows truly what the fuck everything is, you know? From another perspective, we can say that everything everyone is saying is true. We can say that we are all wrong and we can say that we are all right, you know? And sometimes like we see someone sharing something and it resonates with us, and sometimes we see someone sharing something and it really doesn't resonate. And sometimes we say, oh, their perspective is wrong, or this is wrong, or whatever. And sometimes we even get a little bitter or kind of even ugly about it, you know? And we kind of attack and bash other people's perspectives. And sometimes when we share our perspectives and it's not received in a way that resonates, we feel like sometimes defending our perspective, you know? And it's so funny because literally every single one of us has a different belief and a different perspective of everything, of life, you know? If you ask someone about what they think about the freaking virus or the government or what's happening on earth right now, you will have like all these people saying all these different things, you know? And some of us call themselves spiritual teachers, and some of us call themselves, I don't know, whatever, you know? And again, there's nothing wrong or whatever about any perspective, you know? It's just a perspective, you know? If someone is sharing something, that's their own point of view. And that's the only thing any of us can share. I can only share from my own perspective, you know? And it doesn't mean it's the truth. It's what I'm seeing in the moment. And like for me, I see so many perspectives all the time at the same time, and I see so many timelines at the same time. So, from one perspective, it's like I kind of don't have any beliefs. What I have is different points of view, you know? Um, and again, each different point of view will make you feel different things and will resonate with you differently. And sometimes it might change. What you believe and what you perceive might change. It's so funny because, like, it's so funny. It's so funny to like organize my thoughts in a way to translate this message, because I see so many people arguing and getting upset and mad at each other because they believe different things, or because you believe this and they believe that, and then you get super upset and you get into this argument or whatever, when you, from your perspective, there are all these ways why that perspective is wrong, and the other person from their perspective has all of these different reasons why your perspective is wrong. And we get so upset and mad at each other, and we see this happening in the world so much, you know so much. And literally I can touch so many different subjects that are very triggering. We can talk about new age, Christianity, religion, the government, new earth, 5D, 3D, like ascension, like all these different concepts and perceptions, and they will trigger such different reactions and responses and beliefs in so many of us. And we're like, no, that's wrong, and this is why that's wrong, and we have all of these reasons. And from our perspective, it's very clear why that is wrong. But if you put yourself in the other person's perspective, they also have this very nicely argumentable, I don't know if that's a word, argumentable, whatever. These very nice arguments why their own perspective is right and your perspective is wrong. So we are all living, again, in different timelines, meaning kind of what we believe, what you perceive is what you... Okay, wait, what was I gonna say? Like, what you perceive, how you perceive things is then how you're gonna perceive everything and translate everything in your reality. So if I believe in whatever, then I will translate what I see in my reality as a proof to that belief that I already have. And sometimes it shifts because I connect with someone else's perspective, and it gives me a little nugget that I never thought about before, and my perspective might expand or shift a little or completely. And we're seeing this happen so much in the world. Like, there's so much contrast and diversity, and so many people having so many completely different experiences, because of what they believe and how they perceive the world. And we see so many people in so many different states of mind or consciousness, or you can call it timeline, you can call it dimension, you can call it whatever, because again, even what we call what is a perspective. Like, everything is perspective, everything is perception, and everything from one perspective is a paradox. It's just our own interpretation. So again, we are all looking at the same thing, but we are all thinking and believing and perceiving it differently. And sometimes I'm like, no, this is the truth, can't you see? Like, it's so obvious to me. And you're like, no, can't you see? It's so obvious to me that it's another way. Like, and then we argue, and then we get into this war. And from one perspective, we can say that what's happening in the world, it's a freaking war of consciousness, where everyone is like perceiving everything in their own unique way, and then everyone is getting crazy because we all have different beliefs. And I've shared a video about this earlier, and like the point of that video that I shared, I don't really remember the name, but I shared it like some days ago. And again, this is also just another perspective. And that perspective was like can we be at peace with ourselves and with each other, even though we believe such different things, you know? Because so many of us, from one perspective, want to live in peace and in harmony with everyone. But how can we live in peace and harmony if we get so upset that people have different experiences and different beliefs? And in these, again, there's nothing wrong. From one perspective, there's nothing wrong with anything. So from one perspective, there's like nothing wrong with any spiritual teacher or any spiritual teaching. It's just another way to see the same thing. This is so much fun and so crazy to translate. And again, this is why, not only why, but one of the reasons why I love drawing and dancing and singing, because language for me is so hilarious, because we're trying to translate the untranslatable. Like, one of the biggest ways we communicate with each other is through language. But like language, it can never truly translate anything. Like, you think you know what I'm saying because you think you know what the words crystal or computer or whatever means. But it's so hilarious because language is a total paradox. It's hilarious. So again, with the spiritual teachings, like, there are so many spiritual teachings and philosophies and whatever ways of perceiving life and the world, where it's like some perspectives are like, oh, the mind, like denying the mind. The mind is bad, is confusing, is illusion, blah blah blah. Then there is others which like, the mind is amazing, but the ego is very bad. The ego is the illusion, blah blah blah. The ego is bad. Then there are others who are like, the body is an illusion, the physical reality is an illusion, blah blah blah. And like it gets to a point sometimes when you're like connecting and receiving and tuning into all of these teachings, and then you're like, what is left of me? If my mind is wrong, if my ego is bad, if my body is an illusion, what the fuck is left, And then there are teachings that are just like love and light and and like, I don't know, it's so funny because it feels, and again, all that I'm sharing is just a perspective. Please don't take anything that I'm saying for truth. I'm just sharing my perspective in this moment, And like, then it's like love and light and blah, 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 na. But in all of these teachings, it feels like we are always denying a part of us, We're denying the mind. The mind is bad. Denying the ego is bad. Denying the body is bad. Denying desires. Denying, I don't know, sexuality. I don't know. Then there are these teachings which are like, manifest your reality, you create your reality, you know. and then and then there are these other teachings which are like, no, that's just the mind and the ego. Your ego is what desires, and that's just lack, and that's just illusion, and blah blah blah, and you shouldn't desire for anything, and blah blah blah, you know, like dude, it's crazy because it gets to a point like, if you only tune in to a certain type of spiritual teaching, spiritual, that's another funny thing, spiritual, non-spiritual, that's just the most hilarious thing. That's spiritual and that's not spiritual, and I'm very spiritual and that person is not very spiritual. It's just, it's so funny. It's freaking hilarious. It's freaking hilarious. And what was I gonna say? And in all of these things, it's like we're denying a part of us, you know, like love and light or whatever. And then you feel anger, and then you feel these other emotions. And it's like, fuck, what do I do now? Like, I'm supposed to be just love and light. So what the fuck do I do with the rest of me? With my anger and my frustration and whatever, you know? Oh god, it's just so funny. And then there are these perspectives that are like, fuck it all, like I'm connecting with my dark energy and I don't know. And then you're denying the love and you're denying whatever. And it's like, are we always denying a part of us, you know? Like, fuck, what the fuck? And dude, we are all doing our best, you know? And again, we're all sharing from the point of perspective that we are. So it's kind of not fair to say that that person is wrong, or that spiritual teacher is a liar, or whatever, you know. It's like, but they're just sharing their own truth. Who are you to say they are a liar? They're sharing their truth, even if that truth doesn't resonate with you, you know. I don't know. And then light and dark and this all crazy polarity, duality, where I'm a light worker and I don't know. And then there are others who are like, no, I don't know, I'm a demon, or I don't know what these people call themselves. I don't know. It's just, everyone has a different experience and we're all having different experiences. And sometimes we say things like, oh, like my multi-dimensional self, my soul, my higher self, and all of these concepts. All of these concepts and all of these different things. And then and then my human aspects. And most of the times we talk about the human aspect as something very limiting, or very like not aware, or illusionary, or in need of healing, or I don't know, whatever the story is, you know. And sometimes we perceive the human as being so little and limited, and like, who the fuck really knows what the fuck it means to be human? You know, and we're like, oh, my higher self is so enlightened. So enlightened. My soul is so enlightened. My higher self is so enlightened. But my human is still going through these things. My human is still integrating. My human blah, blah, blah. Like, the human is very limited. But like, is it really limited? Is it really limited? Or does being a human mean all of this multidimensionality? What does being a human mean? Does it mean that we are in these bodies and we are very limited and we get bored and we die and whatever? Or does it mean that we are humans and we are in these bodies and we die, blah, 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 but we also are so multidimensional and we travel and blah, 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 all of these things. It's hilarious, family. It's hilarious. Everything is very hilarious, and from another perspective everything sometimes feels very overwhelming and frustrating, and sometimes we're like, but what is the truth? What is the truth? Or like, what is my truth? What is my truth? Or what is the truth about the universe? And many of us are like, don't worry, I know what truth is and I'm gonna tell you, And again, there's nothing wrong with that, There's nothing wrong with anyone's perspectives. Because again, everyone is just sharing from their own point of perception. And for me, like, discernment is one of the most... It's a freaking hilarious concept for me, because for me, discernment is a freaking paradox. Because from one perspective, our minds are so freaking limited. And from another perspective, our minds are like everything that exists we can imagine, or it's in our minds. And from another perspective, like, the whole reality is a hologram and none of this is real and this is all fake and everything is energy and none of the physical stuff is actually physical and blah blah blah. And from another perspective, it's like, but it fucking is. I'm fucking here and I'm fucking experiencing all of these things. And from another perspective, it's like, oh no, but humans can only see a very tiny spectrum of the light to whatever range or whatever that's actually true in the world. And it's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. Like, being a human, it's freaking hilarious. It's a whole freaking experience. And again, so many of us like think we know, or we really believe we know what happens when we die, or like what is life after this human experience, and we come back to being one and we're just spirit and we are all together in the same energy. Or like, I don't know, or like you die but the people you love who died are still here somewhere and you can connect with them and blah blah blah. And from another perspective, they are reincarnated already somewhere else, or they are lingering around in some other plane. And all of these different things, dude, all of these different beliefs and perspectives and religions. Whoo, it's intense. It's intense out here. It's intense to be a freaking human. It's intense to connect with so many perspectives. And again, coming back to discernment, which for me is hilarious, because who am I to even know what discernment is? From one perspective, it's like, oh yeah, I can discern information with my mind, and like, I can discern what resonates and what doesn't. I can feel in my heart or whatever what is true and what isn't. And from another perspective is like, how can we even believe our own discernment? Because even our own discernment is just a perspective. Boom. So, welcome to like my consciousness. This is where I am at. I feel like I have all the spiritual teachings, all the philosophers and philosophies inside my freaking mind all the time, all playing like a movie at the same time. And like, sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, this is resonating, I'm gonna go with that perspective and I'm gonna stay there. But then another one calls me and I'm like, oh, okay, talk to me. And there we go. And it's like this infinite, I don't know, we call it rabbit hole, we call it the snake biting its own tail. I don't know. And then, like, I don't know, we can talk about plant medicine and all of the things we see and perceive when we are in these altered states of consciousness, whether it is with plant medicine or like naturally through breath work or through whatever, it just happens. And it's like more different perspectives, more different perspectives, more information, more ways of seeing the exact same thing. So I can share, like, very honestly, seriously, like, if you've been watching this live, like, can you even imagine how sometimes overwhelming and crazy it is to be in my own mind? Yes, sometimes it's really funny and like complete detachment, because it's like maybe I will never know what the truth is. All I have are perspectives, all I have are beliefs. And like, how can I trust that my truth is the truth? How do I know if my truth is more real than yours? Just because it's what I'm experiencing. Who the fuck knows? For real. Who the fuck really knows? And like, it's so funny because sometimes we really feel that we know, you know? And maybe we do know, you know, again, maybe we really do know everything, you know? But maybe we really don't. And like, I don't know, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Everything is hilarious. And again, sometimes it's very fun and very like, I feel very detached from beliefs, because from one perspective I have so many beliefs, and from another perspective I don't feel that I have any belief. What is a belief? Is something that you believe it's really true, and like, I don't know if I have any belief at all. At all. All I have are how do you say, suppositions? I don't know if that's the right word. That sounded funny. All I have are perspectives, which keep changing and morphing and contradicting each other and completely shifting. I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, so like, for me personally, I don't resonate. I've never resonated with being called a light worker, because I'm like, fuck, I'm dealing with darkness all the fucking time. How can I call myself a light worker, you know? Or it feels like I'm denying all of these other aspects, what I perceive to be darkness. And again, this is very nice. Our own perception of what is light and what is darkness is just a freaking perception. Hello? Who am I to say that that's darkness? My anger is darkness, my ego is darkness. I don't know. That's just a perspective. That's just my own way of looking at it. And from another perspective, sometimes perceiving anything as darkness, and again, I'm always saying this is just a perspective. Perceiving something as darkness sometimes doesn't really help anything. You know, because it's like I'm condemning a part of me, or a part of you, or a part of the world, or, you know. Sometimes we say things like, oh, we are ascending, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know, that this is so deep and so crazy. Like, you need to let go of all of these things. You need to let go. But what are you really letting go of? Even that is just a perspective. And from another perspective, we can say that letting go like letting go and welcoming and integrating are the exact same thing, just perceived in different ways. So imagine like someone who believes that desire, pleasure, and sexuality is the devil, or I don't know, even your perception of what the devil is, again, is just a perception. But let's go with someone who feels that sexuality, desire, and all of that is I don't know, satanic, bad, the devil, shadow, whatever. And then imagine being someone who is like connecting with their sexuality and with their desires and with their pleasure and what they want with their life. Can you see how their perspectives would clash so much? And how like the person who believes sexuality is bad would perceive the person who is connecting with their sexuality as being like bad or evil or a shadow worker, or like working for the devil, or whatever the fuck it is. And can you see how the person who is purely, genuinely connecting with their sexuality and their pleasure and blah 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 can perceive the other person perceiving them as bad, as an attack, you know? And they can feel like doesn't feel really good, you know, for them. And you might feel that the other person who is denying their sexuality, that is actually the darkness for the person who is connected with their sexuality, you know? And it's like this clashing of energies, you know? Because we're denying something, you know? We deny the mind is bad, the mind is wrong. We deny the ego is bad, the ego is wrong. We deny desires, we deny sexuality. We deny all of these things. And we call them shadow. We call them bad. We push them aside. We tell each other, you have to let go of that, that is wrong, that is bad. You know, we see people sometimes who are connected with what we perceive to be darkness as dark. You know, I don't know, like people connecting with demons, or with what we perceive again with being demons or darker. Again, all of this is just perspective. Dark aspects of the soul or of the human. We perceive it as being bad or as being wrong. But we're just denying, we're just denying something. We're just denying a part of us. And how heavy and hard that feels in our souls and in our beings, that we constantly feel that there's something wrong with us. I need to heal this and that. My anger is wrong. My anger is bad. I am super conscious and enlightened. Again, our perception of what enlightenment and consciousness and all of that is, it's also just a perspective. So like, I'm so enlightened and I'm so conscious, and then I feel anger and I feel sadness and I feel frustration, or I don't know, envy or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, this is so bad, there's something wrong with me. And then I don't know. Do you get what the fuck where I'm going, what I'm saying? Like, it's like we're always pushing aside a part of us. We're always denying a part of us. We're always condemning something. And then, like, imagine you're someone who you perceive yourself as being very realistic and like you perceive people who are very love and light as not being realistic because they are not, like they are bypassing. And we point fingers so much, babes. We point fingers all the time to ourselves and to others. New age people who are just love and light, they are bypassing. They are not realistic. They are, blah blah blah, condemning their perspective. And then the people who perceive themselves as being new age or love and light perceive the others as like, oh, you have all of these things that you have not integrated yet. That's why you're perceiving me as unrealistic, because you actually have all of this shadow inside of you that you didn't integrate. That's why you're perceiving me in this way. It's like family. I don't know. In my mind, I fucking see it all. I see all the perspectives. And I don't know how to explain this, but I cannot choose one. I cannot choose one of them. I cannot choose, like, let's be very realistic with what's happening in the world. And people who are just love and light are just bypassing their emotions and bypassing what's really going on and blah, blah, blah. And I cannot fully resonate with only that. And I can also not fully resonate with only being love and light and like just compassion and forgiveness and love and seeing everything from a higher perspective. And it feels like we're bypassing or denying all of these emotions and all of these things, and my mind is constantly blowing itself. This sounded kind of funny or crazy, but it's just, again, this is just my perspective. This is just, again, I'm just sharing my point of view, Hi. And it's so funny because it's so easy for me to connect with one perspective and feel into why that perspective feels the other perspective is wrong. But it's also just as easy for me to connect with the other seemingly opposite perspective and see why the other perspective is wrong. It's so easy for me to see both the same way. So I want to like talk about that again. So like, can't you see how like people who call themselves realistic, can you put, even if it's not it doesn't resonate with you, can you just kind of open yourself for a little bit and imagine what it would be like to think and perceive the world like that? So like, imagine you're very realistic, and for you love and light is just freaking bypassing. And can you also see from the perspective of the person who is again perceived or believed to be as love and light, the people who call the people love and light unrealistic, and like, you're love and light, that doesn't make sense, you're just blah blah blah. Can you also see from that perspective how a person who is love and light perceives the other one who calls themselves realistic as someone who has just not integrated the perceived shadow aspects of themselves? I can see both perspectives so clearly. And I can't, my mind, and this is just what happened, it's again it's not me who is choosing a perspective, it's just how my brain works or whatever. I can never be biased Like my mind can never be biased. Let's talk about light language, because this is also something funny. Because, hi Nicole, I'm just talking about light language and you showed up. That was funny and synchronistic. So, for example, let's talk about light language. From one perspective, can you see how the people who are speaking and connecting light language um, uh, might perceive it as like, oh, it's just pure energy and it's just flowing, and it's like language of the universe or language of the heart or like the language of the universe. And can you see from that perspective how pure that is and how valid it is? But can you also see from another perspective, from, I don't know, from any other perspective, from someone who calls themselves realistic or whatever, that like someone talking like "Wah, nyah, 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 nyah," that sounds completely freaking nuts. Completely freaking nuts, Like, what the fuck are you saying? Oh, I'm channeling the plant, whatever. I'm channeling Dark Torians. I'm channeling whatever. Like, I can always see both perspectives, which sometimes it's very crazy. Like, sometimes the light language comes through and I'm like just going with it, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, maybe this is crazy and I'm just crazy. Maybe I am crazy and I'm just wah, nyah, 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 and it's crazy. Oh my freaking god, how freaking hilarious. How freaking hilarious. Seriously, how freaking hilarious. I think this is my favorite video I ever recorded. I am having so much fun, and like, this feels like this is my truth. Like, this is my truth. This is what happens inside my freaking brain. And again, this is just a perspective. There's nothing right or wrong with what I'm sharing. It's not truth or untrue. It's just a perspective. And the light language is just so funny. It's just so funny. If you know what light language is, this is hilarious. This is hilarious because you might be in that moment or in that state when you are channeling or whatever. Oh my god, let's talk about channeling. Oh my god, let's go there. Oh my god, let's talk about channeling. Oh my god, I can talk about that forever. This video, I could be my whole life just here talking. Just ranting and rambling and blah, 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 venting crazy perspectives. So, let's talk about channeling, because from one perspective, light language is a form of channeling. So let's talk about, oh my god, this is so funny. So people who channel whatever. Channel the water, I channel the spirit of the water, the energy of the water. I channel the dragons. I channel the Pleiadians. I don't know, whatever we channel. So yeah. Again, can you just like open your consciousness a little bit and just play with different perspectives if you want to. If you don't want to, that's also okay. I don't really care. I am just having so much fun sharing my own perspective. So like, many of us have channeled different beings or energies or dimensions or planets or star systems or whatever. And can you see again from that perspective how pure and true that is? because like I am just opening myself and allowing information to stream through. Can you see from another perspective of someone who calls themselves realistic or whatever? That is the most woo woo crazy shit in the freaking world. Oh, I'm channeling blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, you're kind of crazy. Maybe you need help. Like, it's so funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. And we can go so deep into any of the topics that I'm sharing. So from another perspective, from okay, this is like one personal perspective that I really like, which is, in my perspective, everyone is always channeling. Whatever the fuck you're saying, whatever the fuck you're doing, you're channeling. Point. Again, just a perspective. From another perspective, um, from another perspective, let's go back to something different. From another perspective, there are people who can say or see something like, whatever you perceive that you are channeling that is outside of you, you're actually, everything is just you. So you're saying you're channeling an Arcturian, but that's actually just you, because everything is you. So let's go into that perspective. Everything is me, and the whole universe is me, and like all of you who are watching this, you are just another aspect of me, and we are all the same consciousness and energy. And when we die, or when we go through all of these incarnations or whatever, we all like we are all the same. From another perspective, you are me in another parallel timeline, and like I'm only always just talking with myself to myself. From another perspective, can you see how someone else can perceive that as like, yeah, you're freaking crazy? Like, no, you are you and I am me. And that makes no fucking sense for me. So don't come here saying that you are me and I'm you. Don't come here saying that I'm freaking Hitler, or I'm freaking, like imagine like a person that you really don't resonate with their energy or with their truth, or with what they are doing. And it's like, you're telling me that I'm that? No, I'm not that. Like, I could never be like that. I could never do that, blah, blah, blah. And can you see how funny it is, all of these perspectives just clashing and morphing, and like, how funny it is. How funny. How hilarious. Past, present, and future. Linear time. Quantum jumping, timeline, shifting dimensions. All of these concepts, all of these things are, again, perspectives. And again, because I'm saying that something is a perspective, I'm not saying that, how can I explain this shit? Saying that something is a perspective is not taking the truth out of it. I'm saying, oh, that's just a perspective. So like I'm kind of like taking the truth out of it, or kind of denying the truth of it. That's the point. Again, when I say it's a perspective, it's not that I'm taking the truth out of anything or putting the truth in anything. Oh, this is crazy to explain. Sometimes I feel like my brain is like this big, like so big, so big. And sometimes I feel like I need to breathe and like, Ooh, I need to chill my multidimensional self or my multidimensional brain. And let's go on another perspective with multidimensionality. I can think. Ooh, that's exactly the word that was so funny. So I can perceive. So everything that I just shared, you can perceive me, or I can perceive myself as like, oh, my brain is very multidimensional because I have all of these different perspectives. And from another perspective, you can just see me, or I can just perceive myself as someone who just overthinks. Like, dude, you just think a lot. That's just not multidimensionality. That's just overthinking, you know? And like, you should be more in your body, and like, oh my god, dude, all of these concepts, all of these things, again, it's not that they are wrong or that they are true, is that they are all simply perspectives. And I resonate and I don't resonate with all of them at the same time, you know? And from one perspective, again, coming again to the concept of the human being so limited and so limitless at the same time. From one perspective, we can never know anything because we are so limited by our minds. From another perspective, we do know everything because our mind is limitless. Oh, then we can talk about God and what God is and what God isn't. Is it something out there? Is it something in here? Are we all God? Is everything God? But then, if you say that everything is God, why are you denying certain people or certain behaviors or certain aspects? Let's go with believing everything is love. If you believe that everything is love, then how can you deny any of it? How can you deny, if you believe that everything is love, how can you condemn any type of action, any type of belief, any type of behavior? Even things that seem very extreme and bad, like killing someone or hurting someone or doing all of these things. If you perceive everything as love, if you perceive everything as God, you see that even doing those things which seem very bad is actually also just love. It's actually also just love. And from one perspective, you can say that love does not condemn. Love does not judge. Why? Because if it births and if it is everything, then it's not judging, it's just being everything. But then wait, but I am judging, or that person is judging. And if everything is love and I'm judging, then love is also judgment. Dude, do you understand how freaking paradoxical and multidimensional everything, or at least the way I perceive everything, is? You see, from one perspective, love does not judge. Nature does not judge. It just births and it just is. And from another perspective, of course it judges, because here we are judging. You know. Dude, this is why, like, it's very challenging for me to write anything. It's hard because, like, every time I try to write a sentence, another one that completely annihilates that one comes up in my consciousness. That's why I would rather make these videos and speak and share my perspectives in this way, because to write what I'm sharing like this is hard. It's challenging as fuck. Because I'm like, oh, love does not judge. But then I'm like, yeah, but love does judge. Love is judgment. Because if love is everything that is, and if judgment is something that exists, then judgment is love and love is judgment. If everything is love and people are killing each other, then even killing each other is a form of love. I know this is very triggering sometimes, like some concepts feel just like way too extreme. I know. But it's like my brain goes all the way all the time. My brain never goes halfway. It's not even my choice, it's just how my brain works, it's just how my brain works. So like you can ask me a question and I can answer the same question in infinite different perspectives who kind of seem to contradict each other. Love does not judge. Love is everything. But if love is everything, then love is judgment, and love is hate, and love is pain, and love is anger. If everything is God, then God is pain, God is judgment, God is all of it. All of it is this diversity, this contrast. It's all of it. So who am I to say that I figure out the universe? Who am I to say that my perspective is more valid than anyone else's? Or less valid than anyone else's? Yes, if everything is God, then God is also violence. Because if violence is something that exists, then, it's so funny. And we say, oh, like there's also this spiritual perspective. Oh my God, let's go into spiritual after. So this perspective that it's like everything is either love or fear. That perspective is, again, so true and so paradoxical at the same time. So, this is crazy. This is crazy. Everything is either love or fear. Then what is it that encompasses the both of them? Because if we say that everything is either love or fear, that means that there exists love and there exists fear. So it's like there are these two energies, but what is the energy that encompasses both of them? If they both exist, then what is there beyond that encompasses both love and fear? Let's talk about spirituality. That's the most freaking hilarious word ever that has become a trend. And again, there's nothing wrong or bad or about it, it's just what it is. How freaking, let's be very honest and like, how do we say, raw. How funny it is that we perceive things to be more spiritual than others. We say everything is spirit. But if everything is spirit, if everything is nature, if everything is energy, then how come some things are more spiritual than others? How come some things are more spiritual than others? How come some actions be more valid or more spiritual than others? But this is very triggering because it's like, Because it's like, then doing good and doing bad, it's actually the same thing. Helping someone or hurting someone, what is the difference? If everything is spirit, if everything is energy, if everything is love, if everything is God, then who is to say that loving someone is more spiritual or better than hurting someone? It's just a different experience. It's just a different experience. I know this is very triggering and this is not for everyone. I know. But again, I'm not trying to convince anyone or like to, I don't know, again, I'm just freaking rambling, you know? Who are we to say what is more spiritual? Who are we to say that having desires or having no desires, one is more spiritual than the other? Manifesting your reality. Who, like, who is there to say that manifesting our reality and using our brain to visualize and desire and create is more spiritual or less spiritual than having no desires and no attachments and just living in complete surrender? Who is there to say that one perspective and one way of living in reality is more enlightened or valid or spiritual than the other? So again, kind of wrapping up this life, so there are all of these perspectives. Oh my god, that was a good one. Free will. Ooh, that was such a good one. Thank you. Oh, that was such a good one. That one is, oh yes. Oh my god, dude. Free will and freedom. Do we have free will? Are we really free? Or is everything like pre-designed, pre-whatever? Do we really have a free will? Who is there to say, and how can we truly know? Because you might think and believe that you do have a free will, but maybe you really don't. You just cannot see it. Maybe we really do have free will. Maybe we really do. Who knows? Maybe we know. Maybe we don't. And we live in this constant and contrasting truth or perspective. But wrapping up the video, it's like again, this is just a perspective, but can we honor this contrast? Can we honor these different experiences and beliefs that we have and that other people have? Can we be at peace? And again, that's just a perspective. Why is there a need to be at peace? Because again, if peace is not better than war or whatever, is just a different energy, then you know, then why are we choosing one or another? This is very deep. I know this is very triggering, and like, I know. But coming to a perspective and grounding this, it's like, can we honor that maybe we know everything and maybe we don't know anything? Can we honor that what that person is sharing is their truth? And maybe it really doesn't resonate with me, but it's their truth. And who am I to condemn them or say that they are wrong? Who am I to think that my perspective is more or less valid than anyone else's? And if we do want to choose peace, if we kind of prefer that energy, this is hilarious because even this, like, even as I'm saying it, it kind of annihilates itself. But how can we be at peace if we cannot honor all the different experiences that everyone is having? If we don't have space for maybe we know everything and maybe we know nothing. And we live in this, again, constant and contrasting experience. Whoa. I really loved sharing this. This feels like me, really like naked and raw. And this is me. This is like just what happens inside my brain. This is just the experience that I'm having. And again, it keeps shifting. So sometimes I am more inclined or resonating with a certain perspective. And I will share from that perspective. Sometimes I'm more inclined to another and I will share from that perspective. Sometimes, like I am right now, I am just completely unbiased. So I'm just sharing all of it. And for me, sharing my truth, this is my truth. My truth is not one truth, or it is, and that one truth is all of these truths, you know. And it feels so good to share, so good to be honest and transparent, and to say that maybe I don't know anything I'm saying, and maybe I do know exactly everything I'm saying. And is this being also humble? Yes. It's very humbling. It's humbling and naked and raw. And this is my truth. My truth is no truth. My truth is all the truths. And this is where I am. And this is just my experience. And it shifts and changes and morphs all the time. And I'm not saying I'm right and I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm saying maybe I know and maybe I don't know. I see so many people who are like so sure of what they believe. And sometimes I kind of almost kind of envy that, or I would love to like be in one perspective and just stay there. But that's just not how my brain works. It's just not. Every time I like spend a certain time in one perspective, then another comes knocking, and I cannot ignore it. I cannot, I just can't. So who knows? Maybe we know everything, and maybe we know nothing. Maybe we are free, maybe we are not. Maybe we are limitless, and maybe we are not. Sometimes we feel so certain that this is the truth. Sometimes we are so confused and so lost. And sometimes we are confused without even knowing we are confused. And sometimes we know things even without really noticing that we actually know things. Thank you for everyone who has been here with me through this sharing. This has been my favorite sharing of my whole life, because like this is my truth, and like sometimes I come here and I share little nuggets and little perspectives, but my truth is this. My truth is no truth, and my truth is all the truths at the same time. My perspective is no perspective, and my perspective is all the perspectives. My philosophy is no philosophy, and my philosophy is all the philosophies. The spiritual teaching I resonate with is none, and the spiritual teaching I resonate with is all of them. And like, I am someone who has listened to, I don't know, other beings or spiritual guidance, and I trust it, but at the same time there's always a voice in my head that has always space for something else, you know. So it's like sometimes I talk with my guides, or what we perceive to be our guides. Sometimes I talk to them and they are not there because they are me, so they don't answer because it's me and I'm just talking with myself. Sometimes I hear what they are saying, but I question if they have an ulterior agenda or motive, you know. I question everything. I question everything. But again, like, again, I also cannot be responsible, because that's what I'm saying. No one can be responsible by how others perceive what you are sharing, you know. We cannot like blame spiritual teachers for wrongly influencing others. No, because they are just sharing their truth, and I'm just sharing my truth. And how you receive it and perceive it, it truly is not up to me. It's just up to you. But what I can share, like to kind of end this, is that with all of these perspectives, with all of this knowing and not knowing, what I find is love. Because I don't know, like, I cannot help but have love and compassion for all the perspectives inside of me and in others. And it's not something that I'm choosing. I'm not choosing to love. It's just when I take it all out, when I take all the perspectives out, and also when I embrace all the perspectives, what I find is love. I don't know, but it's just what's there. In the beginning and in the end, with all of it and with none of it, what I find is love. Love for maybe knowing, love for maybe not knowing. Love and compassion that I have different perspectives and maybe I'm so confused and maybe I'm really not. And compassion and love for others wherever they are at. How can we know for sure who is right and who is wrong? Maybe we are all wrong and maybe we are all right. And maybe there is no right or wrong. Maybe there are just experiences and perspectives. That's what I'm fucking saying. I feel complete for now because, like, yeah. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in and who stayed and also who left. Thank you. This was my favorite video and sharing ever. And this video is what I kind of consider my truth, which is none and all. So thank you. It was nice to share myself. Yeah, it was really nice. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, love you, love you, love you, love you. Oh, so much love that is beyond words. It's beyond words. It's beyond words. I love you beyond words. I love us beyond words. It's just embracing all of us in this infinite hug.